Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the September 22nd meeting of the Daytona Beach City Commission. We're delighted to have each of you with us this evening. At this time, we would ask that Ms. LaMagna review the procedures for tonight's meeting.
Good evening. Agendas are available on the table in the lobby and at the front of the Commission chambers. All the exhibits pertaining to items on the agenda are posted in the lobby. Please feel free to view the exhibits at any time during tonight's meeting. You are required to fill out a yellow form to speak before the City Commission on topics on the agenda. Forms are available on the table in the lobby and in the front of the Commission chambers. You must complete the sections that ask for your name, address, agenda item number, signature, and date. The form must be completed and placed in the designated box. Item number 7 is your opportunity to address the City Commission concerning any item on the consent agenda. Please indicate on the yellow speaker sheet the agenda item number of the item or items that you are addressing. Items or discussions not listed on the consent agenda will not be heard during this comment section. Agenda items under item number 9 are public hearings, and citizens may speak at the designated time. Resolutions under administrative item number 10 are open for public comment, and you may fill out a yellow form to speak when that item is called. Speakers will be allowed to speak for 3 minutes. When you approach the lectern, please speak clearly into the microphone and give your full name and address. The 3-minute clock on the monitor above the dais will start running when you begin to speak. Pay close attention to your time. You will be told when your time has expired. Item number 12 is the public comment forum, and this is the opportunity for the public to speak on any issue or topic that is not on the agenda. All citizens completing the green form will be allowed to speak for 3 minutes. When you approach the lectern, please give your full name and address. Disorderly conduct in the public meeting of the City Commission. Article 2, Section 6238 of the City Code of Ordinances reads as follows. It shall be unlawful for any person to behave in a riotous or disorderly manner in any public meeting of the City Commission, or any committee, agency, or board thereof, or to cause any unnecessary disturbances therein by force, shouting, or any other action that is calculated to disrupt such meeting, or to refuse to obey any ruling of the presiding officer or such meeting relative to the orderly process thereof. Please be courteous and respectful of the views of others. Personal attacks on the City Commission, city staff, or members of the public are not allowed. Please silence cell phones and other wireless devices during the meeting. All conversation must take place either at the lectern or on the dais so that everyone can hear the business being discussed tonight.
Ms. LaMagna, may we have a roll call?
Commissioner Cantu?
Here.
Commissioner Henry?
Present.
Commissioner Reed?
Here.
Commissioner Traeger? Here. Commissioner May?
Here.
Mayor Derek L. Henry?
Here.
We will now move on to item number 4, which is approval of the minutes of the August 18th, 2021 regular City Commission meeting.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion from Commissioner Traeger and a second from Commissioner May. Do we have any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
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 Those who are opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. We'll now move on to our agenda approval. If there are any changes, our city manager will address them.
Yes, Honorable Mayor, Commissioners, we want to add Addendum 8J to the agenda, allocation of Bike Week sponsorship funds to the consent items, adding Addendum 10B to administrative items, which is the special primary election resolution. Continue item 9C, the Daytona Beach LPGA 711 PD agreement that was at the request of the applicant, rezoning to October 20th meeting, and pull item 9F, the outdoor art display and sales activities, from the agenda tonight and will be brought back at the next agenda. That concludes the changes.
Second.
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Reed. Take a second from Commissioner Cantu. Is there any questions? Wasn't sure which one it was. I know. Is there any questions or comments? Let it be known. Okay, none. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0.
Okay. Now move on to item number 6, which is our presentation. Item number 6A is the Beautification Awards for September 2021, and a member of the Beautification Tree Advisory Board to report. I believe. Okay.
Good afternoon. Patricia Hamilton Hurd, 822 Vernon Street, Daytona Beach, Florida. September Residential Award. Mayor Henry,
Yes, ma'am.
members of the City Commission, and City Commissioner Mr. Fietcher. I've already given you my name and information.
Yes, ma'am.
The Beautification Tree Advisory Board has selected Brees and Deborah Robinson, 932 Laurel Street, Daytona Beach, as the Residential Beautification Award winner for the month of September 2021. Brees and Deborah are native residents of Daytona Beach. Brees is a manager and cook for Hull's Seafood Restaurant. Deborah also enjoys cooking. She cooks and manages Hope Fellowship Church feeding ministry. They feed the outreach lunch program weekly on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Brees and Deborah find working in their yard very relaxing, peaceful, and enjoyable. They love the beauty and smell of a well-manicured lawn and the added beauty of their colorful flowers. The types of trees, shrubs, and plants used for beautification include hibiscus, crotus, Robelan palms, Hawaiian tie, annuals, wandering Jew, beefsteak plant, Lord Clayton, and a sycamore tree. City Commissioner Paula R. Reed will be presenting the award.
Are the Robinsons present?
Yes, he is.
Did you bring me some salmon from Ho's? One of my favorite places to eat. Thank you, Mr. Hurd. Mr. Robinson? We're so appreciative that you realize that when you're blessed with property, you have a responsibility to take care of that property. I was really enjoying looking at your croton. You know, I just had fumigation at my home, and they killed every plant that was next to my house that I didn't move, and those were in the ground. So I hope mine comes back the way yours was just beautiful up there. So on behalf of the City of Daytona Beach, a certificate of achievement. May it be known that this certificate has been presented to Brees and Deborah Robinson for distinguished achievement in residential beautification from the City of Daytona Beach. Presented this 22nd day of September by myself, your City Commissioner Paula Reed, Zone 6, and our illustrious Mayor, Jerry L. Henry. They want to take a picture. So you get on the side of it?
Right here.
Thank you for what you
And Commission, yeah,
You have to come.
he wants to.
We have to take it.
like.
Come this way.
Sir, get on the side.
Oh,
One, two, three. 1, 2, 3.
Do you trim that seat up like that? You do that?
Oh, I got to go out
I'm
there.
about to say,
Cause it's like, right?
you good.
September Commercial Award. Mayor Henry, members of the City Commission, and City Manager. The Beautification Tree Advisory Board has selected the Mary McLeod Bethune Performing Arts Center, 698 West International Speedway Boulevard, as the Commercial Beautification Award winner for the month of September 2021. The property is owned by Bethune-Cookman University and is directed by Mr. Adrian Parks. The Assistant Director is Mr. Barry Carter. Mr. Christopher, Grounds Manager with Dane Sedoxo Incorporation, is responsible for the maintenance of the grounds. The college was founded in 1904 by Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune. The types of trees, shrubs, and plants used for beautification include variety of crotus, penitence, yucca variety, color guard, purple fountain grass, and oleanders. Mayor Derrick Henry will be presenting the award. Mr. Parks?
Okay.
And Sadaxo.
I'm gonna tell Mr. Carter, my classmate, that it's nice hearing his name in there also, and we appreciate all of your good work. Is a hallmark and a centerpiece of Daytona Beach, and this property being built on International has really helped over the years to help us to transform International. And we're very proud of Daytona State, Volusia County, Bethune-Cookman, and all of our institutions that face International as we continue to try to do that going east. So we appreciate you all continuing to do what you do. This certificate of achievement, may it be known that this certificate has been presented to Mary McLeod Bethune Performing Arts Center for Distinguished Achievement in Commercial Beautification. City of Daytona Beach, Florida, presented this 22nd day of September, signed by Commissioner of Zone 6, Paula R. Reed, and myself, Mayor Derrick L. Henry.
Yell Wildcats.
Okay.
Y'all need to-
And-
Good today. I don't know how my friend became the photographer.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you, Ms. Banner. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mrs. Hurd, thank you. I believe this may be the first time you've had an opportunity to present since you've been appointed to that role. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Hurd, beautiful job.
Presented just like a school teacher. Professional and on point.
Okay. We'll now move on to item number 7, which is public comments by people addressing the City Commission. During this time, citizens have the opportunity to address the City Commission on any item on the consent agenda. My first speaker is Frederick Brown, speaking on 8B, and on deck is John Nicholson, speaking on 8F and 8G.
Frederick Brown, 1508 Crescent Ridge, Daytona Beach. And I might add that that was a very eloquent presentation. I really enjoyed listening to that one. Yeah, in regards to item 8B, I'm very much in favor of the improvements needed. What I would also like to implore that the city look in more detail is, and I know you're going to marine grade, but more durable materials so that we don't have to keep repairing it. Plus, this will require, again, ongoing repairs. So the park is a beautiful park. I just like to see that we have bridges made of more durable materials. And there are a number of engineering improvements that has been made in those areas. Things like kind of different grades of concrete and stuff that can be used to make them more durable, and yet let them look more natural as well. I realize it's a little bit down the road. You've already got the money allocated. I realize it's going to happen, but I just implore the city in the future try to utilize some of the newest building techniques and the newest materials that will last considerably longer. Because again, this is a beautiful park, and as the mayor is well aware of, I'm in favor of beautiful parks here in Daytona Beach. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is John Nicholson.
John Nicholson, 413 North Granbury Avenue. Again, if you look at the agenda and I don't do computers, and everybody knows I don't do computers. I touch them and they break. But I've been told that when you go on the computer and the website, you get the agenda that I see. That when I walk in or that's outside, and it has nothing on it. And I'm told, yes, you can search through it, but I'm also told that many people have a very difficult time surfing our website. They can't find all the information. And we've always had it so that it's easy for the people to pick up an agenda. And if they're talking about a pay increase, it says right there, 3% pay increase. Or if there is a increase in taxes, it says, which it does when you look at it, 2.7% increase. So it is in that, when there's a tax increase, it does say 2.7. But when we're increasing the salaries, it doesn't tell us how much. So we don't know, those four groups that increased their salaries, got pay raises, we don't know how much. And normally in the past, we did. And it was printed on the agenda. So all I'm asking is that, yes, I am lazy. I like to have everything in front of me on paper. That's why I buy a newspaper every day. But it's customary, and if there's reason for change, fine. But I like the idea that people could go on the computer, get the agenda, and it's right in front of them. They don't have to spend all that time searching and maybe not finding the information. All right? That's what I'm making a comment about. It's not the idea that it's being hidden, that there's no transparency. It's the idea that I'm accustomed to it, and I like it easy for everybody to know what's going on. That's why I like that 2.7. It says it right there. It's going up 2.7. But I would like the reason why, though, because there's a reason why we're going up this time, and I have no idea. I know why the county's going up, and in 2 years I will know when every one of us gets a tax increase from the county, a big one, because the $8 million from the Sunrail, that's going to hit us very hard. But there are reasons for this, and I'm sure Fiacher has his reasons, but we don't know it. So at some point, I would like to know why we feel that there's a need to go up. Thank you.
Okay. That was my last speaker on the consent agenda.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. There any additional questions or comments from the commission? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0.
Okay. We'll now move on to item number 9, which is our public hearings. Item 9A is the Budget Division, City of Daytona Beach fiscal year 2021-22, millage and budget. Our first item under 9A is the public hearing, and members of the general public may speak on the proposed millage rate and budget. My first speaker is Frederick Brown, and on deck is John Nicholson.
Good evening once again. Frederick Brown, 1508 Crescent Ridge, Daytona Beach. This year has obviously been a very unprecedented year of inflationary pricing, inflationary taxation, inflationary medical costs, et cetera, coming after a very bad year, obviously, with the COVID situation. The people that are being hurt most by this are going to be the fixed income people and the poorer people. You know, the lower end of the monetary scale. Our budgets are going to get hit hard by this, okay? Because on top of this, as was mentioned previously, the county has had near record increases in property values. So when you add the millage on top of that, you know, it's adding more pain onto more pain. And it's happening at a difficult time. Now, we've been promised, as a senior who lives on Social Security, we've been promised increases, But of course, that's being gobbled up by increases in food costs, medical costs, and of course now the taxation. Now I realize that everybody in the city wants a nice raise as well because they're also facing the same fate. But this double whammy is hitting us hard. And I understand that on 9B, of course, you're turning around taking it on one side, and then on the other side, you're giving it as a incentive for growth. All sounds like a great idea, but this is really a double whammy to us, especially those of us on fixed incomes here, which there's quite a few of us. And I really just wish the city would use a little more prudence and not hitting us with a double whammy. Thank you.
And our final speaker is John Nicholson. Okay. I have no more speakers for this item.
Mr. Feature. Feature. Thank you. The 2.7, that is to help with our first responders, correct? The fire,
One of them.
okay. Hi, the 2.7 increase is to help with our first responders, our police.
In as much as the first responders are receiving a payroll increase as all of the employees are, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Which is the main thing I need to say, which is what the 2.7, the increase over rollback is. Basically, it covers some of the increase in personnel costs. Letitia, you didn't mention the millage rates, did you?
I haven't read
Okay.
those into the record
I'm
yet.
supposed to actually also mention those. I don't want to repeat this. The rate that you're being proposed is 5.53. This is the same rate that we have this year currently. That is an increase of 2.7% over the rollback rate of 5.3843. That's pretty much all I have to say.
What does it mean? I know what it means, but.
Do you want to, for a specific homeowner? I'm actually in
I just
the.
want it so that the public understands.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. On page Roman numeral 2, we have a 9-page message as well as the budget, and in there we talked about what that means for the typical homesteaded property, which has a taxable value of $93,195. When you bring in our millage rate, their taxes would be a total of $515.37. That works out to where is that number? It's like $30 difference in their taxes total. So that's about what it is for a homesteaded property. I wrote this thing. I should remember where I put it. I'm sorry. But it's about a $30 difference in their homesteaded property.
Yeah.
Is that with the increased valuation or with the valuation from last year?
That is with the current valuation, based upon what they had the previous year, which is every house is different. So I can only say on average it would be about a $30 difference. Some people might not see an increase if their valuation didn't change. But homestead, there is this cap, so they can't go up more than 3%. Any other questions?
Any other questions? Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'll go ahead and read the resolutions. Item number 3 is a resolution determining the amount and fixing the rate of taxation and making the annual property ad valorem levy in the amount of 5.5300 per $1,000 of non-exempt assessed value for general fund operations of the City of Daytona Beach for fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2021 through September 30th, 2022, which represent a 2.7% increase from the rolled back rate of 5.3843 and the voted debt service millage of 0.2394 and providing an effective date.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any comments from the commission?
Well, I think we kind of owe it to the general public not to do both a raise in valuation and a raise in the millage at the same year after the disastrous year we had last year. I understand that our personnel need raises too, but like the gentleman said, there's many, many, many people in our city who are on fixed incomes. And unfortunately, their fixed incomes do not go up to match this and the other increased inflation of the things. I really would like to give our residents a break this year because, like I said, the increased valuation, I could live much more with it if there was not an increased valuation the same time there was an increase in millage.
It's okay. I'm not gonna be the one to try to explain all of this tonight, but I will say that it's never easy to, be in a place where you're elevating taxes or an increase. But I just want to say this, as one who works in a highly stressful work environment in the school system, it's much more stressful than most people know. And then as looking at our first responders, looking at our city staff, and it's not just first responders. It's the utility guys and gals. We have to call on them, and this past year, they've all been under a tremendous amount of stress, trying to keep our city functioning at a very, very high level. And one of the things in society that helps to eliminate stress is helping people to feel appreciated in their work, and also helping to ensure that they have the resources to do the things that they need to do. And so while that's a large portion of it goes towards those things, we also have to account for the reality that everything else is going up. And it means that, your gas, just like the price of gas is a lot greater. I went to fill up my car, and I was in Port Orange, and I wanted to drive to Daytona because the gas was almost $4 a gallon. And I didn't remember it being that much out on where I go. But my point is, the city has the same burden. We have to buy a lot of gas, and there's just a lot of reasons behind that. Now, and so hopefully next year it's a little different, but valuations are going up, but really in reality the rate is not going up. So let's acknowledge that and try to move forward and hope that I believe this is a sound and responsible budget. And that's where I stand. Do we have any other questions or comments from the commission?
I just want to say I understand their stress, but I also understand the stress of many of the people who they have to decide whether to buy food, whether to buy medicine, whether to pay their bills. So, there's stress all over the place. And I'm very sorry that we have to do this. And I wish we didn't. And I wish there's some way we could maybe ease the stress on some of these people who do live on fixed incomes and do have to make difficult, stressful choices on what little money they do get.
You're right. I concur with that sentiment as well. Do we have any other questions or comments? Okay. All those in favor? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye. Aye. Those in opposition, same sign.
No.
Motion carries 5-1.
Moving on to 9A, number 4, is a resolution adopting the budget for fiscal year October 1st, 2021 to September 30th, 2022 for the city of Daytona Beach, prescribing the net sources of revenue in an estimated amount of $312,435,850, setting forth expenditures and transfers in the amount of $312,435,850, of which operating expenditures total $245,820,511, transfers $52,391,255, and capital expenditures $14,224,084, and providing an effective date.
We have a motion from Commissioner Reed. We have a second from Commissioner Henry. Any questions or comments? All right, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same
No.
sign? Yes, ma'am. Motion carries 5-1.
Okay. Now we're going to move on to the DDA.
Oh, yeah. I emailed you. Oh, oops, okay.
Okay. So we're going to recess.
We're going to recess while the DDA comes in.
We're ready.
Like to call to order the meeting of the Downtown Development Authority. May we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Juanita May,
Here.
Cheryl Cook,
Here.
Tammy Kaczynski,
Here.
Joseph Hopkins.
Here.
Michael Schnapps-Tyler.
We do have a quorum.
And I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, our meeting has started, so can we, thank you.
We will have a presentation by Mr. Reedberger.
Good evening, DDA board members. The DDA is projected to receive revenues in the amount of $173,662 in ad valorem tax revenue, based on a proposed 1 mil tax rate, which is lower than the rollback rate of 2.0977. It's a decrease of 52.33%. The total budget is $309,737, which includes $101,059 in payments to the downtown CRA, which is returned to the DDA by an agreement. Also included in the budget is $52,628 for marketing and promoting the downtown, $76,000 for events, and $35,000 for operation of the farmers market. No funds are proposed to be allocated from the DDA's unreserved balance. This concludes my report.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Do we have any speakers?
I do have one speaker for this item, Mr. Frederick Brown. Mr. Brown, are you in the lobby? Going once. Going twice. Can you come to the, go ahead to the front, Mr. Brown?
I'm a little confused here. Frederick Brown, 1508 Crescent Ridge. This is on item
9B.
9B, okay. Yeah, I kind of touched on that in my previous talk because, we're taken from one and given to another. And while I realize that we need to do economic improvement, and I certainly would like to see the businesses perform well, I think the opportunities to recover are even better. And what I'm seeing here is that you're, reducing a tax rate. And like I say, the rest of us are getting a double whammy. So I just wish that the commission and the city would look at better means of providing incentives for business rather than, this tax, I'm going to call it a loophole. It's not really a loophole, but you understand what I'm trying to say. Is that my concern is that it's coming out of one pocket and going into another. And like I said, I really am in favor of, Daytona picking itself up and moving up in the business world. But again, I think there's some disadvantages to doing what we do is that way. So thank you.
And that was my only speaker.
We have two resolutions to consider. May we have the first, please?
A resolution determining the amount and fixing the rate of taxation in making the annual property ad valorem levy in the amount of 1.0000 per $1,000 of non-exempt assessed value for the general fund operations of the Daytona Beach Downtown Development Authority for fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2021 through September 30th, 2022, decreasing property taxes by 52.33% from the rolled back rate millage rate of 2.0977 and providing an effective date.
Motion to, she don't move, so sorry.
I'm sorry.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same side. The motion carries 4-0.
Okay, our next resolution, a resolution adopting the budget for fiscal year October 1st, 2021 to September 30th, 2022 for the Daytona Beach Downtown Development Authority, prescribing the net sources of revenue in an estimated amount of $309,737, setting forth expenditures in the amount of $309,737, and providing an effective date.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. There being no further business, I declare the meeting adjourned.
We'll now reconvene our regularly scheduled commission meeting.
Okay. Item 9C is the Daytona Beach LPJ 711 Planned Development Agreement. This is an ordinance on second reading, quasi-judicial hearing. An ordinance amending the zoning map of the Land Development Code to rezone 2.3 plus or minus acres of property located at 2100 LPJ Boulevard from PDG Plan Development General to PDG Plan Development General, approving the Daytona Beach LPGA 711 Planned Development Agreement, authorizing use of the property as a convenience store with fueling facilities and a car wash, subject to certain conditions, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the agreement, and on behalf of the applicant, it's been requested to continue this item until October 20th, 2021.
Second.
And we'll have a motion from Commissioner Henry and a second from Commissioner Cantu. Do we have any questions or comments? Okay. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0.
Okay. Moving on to item 9D, the Development and Administrative Services Planning Division, Affordable Housing Land Development Code Text Amendment. This is an ordinance on second reading public hearing. An ordinance amending City Land Development Code, LDC, Section 6.22, to establish affordable housing incentives and provide for affordable housing inventories in conformity with the State Housing Initiative Partnership Act, Florida Statute 420.907 through 420.9079, amending LDC Section 8.4, non-conforming lots of record, and LDC Section 10.5 definitions to conform to these affordable housing amendments, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Henry and a second from Commissioner Reed.
And I have no speakers for this item, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, if you recall at the first discussion on this, the commission requested the city attorney to tweak the ordinance for second reading. The ordinance, which was modeled after the former Land Development Code, had a provision that for development fee waivers precluded somebody from getting a development fee waiver for a multifamily project within a certain distance of another multifamily project that had gotten those fee waivers. The question raised at the last meeting was whether you wanted to do something similar for density bonuses. And so we did make those changes. And so the same limitation would now apply for multifamily projects that are within a certain distance of another multifamily project that also got a density bonus.
Question. Are we taking a look, because the word cluster was used, I think, at the last meeting, right? Cluster. So are we taking a look at where the new multi-story units or multifamily is going in relation to existing units? Are we looking at that at all? So could we have two multifamily units in proximity? One's existing, let's say 10, 20 years ago, and now a new one pops up using the word cluster where we want to kind of create density. I'm curious.
So this ordinance doesn't dictate or directly control how closely two affordable housing projects could be located to one another. That would just be handled under zoning, and if somebody wanted to put a deed restriction down because they're getting low-income tax credits, for example, they could do that. But this ordinance does limit the incentives that are being established when there's clustering.
So, yeah, no question. It meets the objective for me of us not creating a certain type of an environment. If the market does it, then we're not controlling it.
Now, to be clear, if you had Project A approved 2 years ago and it received neither development fee waivers nor density bonuses, and then Project B comes along within a mile of Project A, the limitations don't apply there. They only apply to Project B's receipt of those bonuses or waivers if Project A also received them.
My question is, are we making consideration for, or I'd like us to consider the idea that we have some developments already in certain zones, right? A lot of people living there. Some of the environments are really good, some are not so great. How many environments do we want to have close to each other? And because I keep coming up with the word cluster. That's a phrase that was used at the last meeting, number one. Number two is that I would like to know, and maybe we already know, how many housing developments can we actually have in Midtown based on the 1.5 miles? Did we come up with a number, max?
Thank you, Dennis Merzick, Planning Director. I don't have a number. I don't have a number for the maximum that could occur in the city. You'd really have to take a look at the entire city, each location, and you got the separation. And as Mr. Gross was saying, it really does depend. If they were requesting those modifications, that's when it would apply. If it didn't apply, then the separation wouldn't.
Okay. All right. Do we have any other questions or comments? We have a motion and a second. No public. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, we'll move on to item 9E, the Development and Administrative Services Planning Division. First Amendment to Bellwood Commons Plan Development General Rezoning. This is an ordinance on second reading, quasi-judicial hearing. An ordinance approving the First Amendment to the Bellwood Commons Plan District Agreement, which regulates the development and use of a 5.1 plus or minus acre site located at 1260 Bevel Road, allowing a portion of the site to be developed with a drugstore or pharmacy without a drive-through service, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the First Amendment, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
We have a motion and a second.
And I do have speakers, Mr. Mayor. Our first speaker is Matthew Reinhardt.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Matthew Reinhardt, my address is protected. I'm a little late to the party on this, and I understand it's a second reading for this. When I learned of this, I guess my first concern is how many in this area. I do live in the area where this is planned to be located. My concern is how many pharmacies are in this area and what comes or what type of clientele is associated with that. Speaking with some of the Daytona PD officers, when they talked about some of the crime that happens at the pharmacies, it's not that the money that's being sought, it's the drugs that they're going after. And you already have 4 right now within that immediate area. There were 6. CVS has left. Sam's Pharmacy has obviously moved for other reasons. But I didn't want to see something like storage units or, where you see them every couple miles. It seemed like a lot for this one area. I'm not objecting to any type of business improvement. Absolutely. I would love to see growth. So much of one item in that one area is just kind of concerning to me. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
I would actually like to have do you have another speaker?
I just have Mr. Rob Merrill here on behalf of the applicant.
Okay. I would like to have some more discussion too. I think everyone received this. I have 14 subdivisions within HOA subdivisions within Pelican Bay. that are objecting as well to a pharmacy. And I believe the reason they are objecting to this pharmacy is because we have 7 pharmacies within a 2-mile radius of each other, which they're all walking distance. I could stay here and name them all. And I believe that's one of the thing. And there's a few that said that it would be a negative impact to the property values.
My turn?
Yes, sir.
Thanks. Rob Merrill for the record, 149 South Ridgewood with Cobb Cole. Here on behalf of the property owner, Neil Buck, who's not here tonight, and I've got Dan Krensman with me as well, who's hoping to become a new corporate citizen here in Daytona Beach. I'd like to take a few minutes to talk to you a little bit about this project. First of all, your staff has given you a very thorough staff report on this. And hopefully you guys had a chance to look through that. The planning board recommended unanimous approval on this project. We had a neighborhood meeting, like we always do, for this. And this is actually an amendment to an approved project that has been partially built. You guys approved it in 2017. The commercial portion of this project is completed, and we have one additional space to be filled in the commercial project. That's the subject of the amendment tonight for the pharmacy use. Again, we had a neighborhood meeting. I think some of the folks that came are maybe here today. And they asked intelligent questions. We gave answers, and everybody seemed satisfied as a result of that. So interesting to hear at this point in time that there are people who don't like the idea of a certain number of pharmacies. I've been handling zoning cases for 35 years. I've never heard of an objection to a pharmacy ever in my career. Interesting. So I say that in an academic way. I would say that it would be worth your while, if you haven't seen it, to look at this project. It's right across from the old Sam's Club on Bevel Road. Great architecture. The project currently has O'Reilly Auto Parts, a new auto parts store, Tire Kingdom, and Huey Magoo's Chicken Restaurant, which is, if you haven't tried that, is pretty good. They've got, like I said, it's a great looking building. Architecture looks good. Landscaping looks great. The project, I think, is a facelift for that section of Bevel Road. I don't have to talk to you about how that affects the tax base, the commercial tax base, which gives some relief to the residential components you were talking about earlier today. Jobs, we've got new jobs, people working in those buildings. So when we talked about these things back in 2017, they've already come to fruition in large part. This is one last little piece of it. So take a look at the site, tell me what you think, but I think for the most part it's been well accepted. I would tell you that, and this is just my opinion, that I think this fits in this location. It works well, it's compatible, but sometimes I like to take the time to show and sort of show off your staff's handiwork on projects like this. You know, all these things go without saying if you guys have read the agenda packages, but certain things I think are relatively important when you start to talk about whether something's a good idea from a zoning or comprehensive planning standpoint in your city. And so I'll start by just reading from the staff report a few things that I think are relevant and important to you for the record. Under the heading of Site-Specific Zoning District Map Amendment Review Standards. So those are the boxes that we check to decide whether this is a good or a bad public policy tonight. Number one, is the use consistent with and furthers the goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan and all other applicable city adopted plans? Check box, yes, from your city professional staff. Again, this is not me talking. This is your professionals that have been, hired by you to decide whether zoning decisions are consistent with the comprehensive plan, consistent with the criteria in your land development code, or not. Answer for the first one, which is very important, comprehensive plan, the Bible that we live by in the zoning world, answer yes. Consistent with any portion of this code, answer yes. Compatible with existing proposed uses surrounding the subject land and appropriate zoning district for this land, yes. Would result in logistical and orderly development patterns, yes. Would not adversely affect the property values in this area, check. Those are all the things you guys are thinking about when you're deciding whether a use is appropriate. Now, so that's the professional sort of look at it that we get from our professional staff in Daytona Beach. But I would challenge you to sort of intuitively look at this and decide whether you think that having a medical marijuana dispensary, which you have already in Daytona Beach on ISB is a bad land use or an inappropriate land use. You guys spent some time talking about these pharmacy uses, whether they should be regulated in a certain way. And in fact, we're doing exactly what you told us you wanted us to do. So if you have any particular questions, about the businessman's right here behind me. He's happy to get into it with you. I can talk to you about the higher level pieces of it. But, I'm going to also quote from the city manager's report that he gave you, because this is sort of the first thing you guys see at the front page of your packet. And it says under the heading Vision Plan Strategic Planning Initiative, 2008 Economic Development Vision Strategies. Number 1, encourage the city to use its resources to provide friendly and expeditious business processes. Make it economically attractive to do business in Daytona Beach. I like that one. So I'm hoping that inspires you guys to say, yes, this businessman, come into our community, spend your hard-earned dollars, and bring jobs and tax base, continue the things that I think we need in Daytona Beach. That's all from me. And that's more than I usually give, Mayor, so sorry about that.
It's all right.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to.
Yeah.
Any questions for me, my client?
Do we have any questions? No? All right, so you say you had 14, they all oppose that?
Yes, 14, you should have that in front of you.
Yeah,
It's
but-
in the city. It's 14 subdivisions within Pelican Bay, the presidents of the HOAs.
On the grounds that it's
And-
gonna,
I think the main thing is they are tired of seeing pharmacies, which we have 7, and tire stores and auto parts stores on Bevel. But I will have to vote with my constituents. I mean, I do support all small businesses, but this is why I was elected.
okay. Yeah, okay. All right, we have a motion. Do we have any other comment from the commission? No other comments? All right, we have a motion. We have a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
Nah.
Motion carries 5-1.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, item 9F was pulled from our agenda tonight, so we'll move on to item 9G. 9G is the Development and Administrative Services Daytona Beach VA Outpatient Clinic OPC Proportionate Fair Share Agreement Resolution, public hearing. A resolution approving the Daytona Beach VA Outpatient Clinic Proportionate Fair Share Agreement between the city, Daytona Beach VA Company LLC, and the County of Volusia, providing for the developer to pay a proportionate fair share contribution to Volusia County in relation to the construction of the Daytona Beach VA OPC project located at 1776 North Williamson Boulevard, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the agreement and providing an effective date.
So move.
We have a motion from Commissioner Cantu and a second from Commissioner Henry. Do we have any?
And I have no speakers for this item.
All right, no speakers, no comments. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0.
Okay. Now move on to item number 10, which is our administrative items. Item 10A is the Development and Administrative Services Planning Division, Peabody Historic Overlays Rezoning. This is an ordinance on first reading. An ordinance amending the zoning map of the Land Development Code, applying the historic overlay classification to the site of the Peabody Auditorium, located at 600 Auditorium Boulevard, which is owned by the City of Daytona Beach, adopting design guidelines for the site, directing that the local register of historic places be updated to include the site, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Traeger and a second from Commissioner Reed. Do we have any questions or comments? Okay. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0.
The public hearing is set for October 6th. Moving on to item 10B, which was added to our agenda tonight, it's the city clerk declaring the results of the September 21st, 2021 special primary election and submitting names for the special general election. It's a resolution. A resolution declaring the results of the September 21st, 2021 special primary municipal election for election by zone for city commissioner for Zone 2, submitting Larry McDermott and Ken Strickland for election for city commissioner Zone 2 in the special general election on November 2nd, 2021, and providing when this resolution shall take effect.
So move.
Motion from Commissioner Traeger, second from Commissioner May. Do we have any questions or comments?
And I have no speakers for this item.
All right. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0.
And that was our final item on the agenda tonight.
All right, so we move on to our commission comments. The CRA, it was Commissioner Cantu. Who is it?
It's Cantu.
Cantu again?
Yep.
Okay.
I just had a few things. First of all, I would like to say thank you to Andy and Public Works. We have some very happy residents right now in the courtyard of Indigo. Their streets are being resurfaced. Do have a question. Mid-Florida Housing would also like to say thank you for the striping to improve the visibility on the street parking. And I actually saw that today, and I was curious, can we get all the striping? Because I seen across the street, there's no striping, and it really looked, improved. It really looked nice.
Yes, they are aware of that and are looking at how to stripe up, down, the tree in front of.
Mike,
Can you hear me? Oh,
Yep.
yeah. Well, who controls that red light? Oh. It started blinking. But yeah, we're looking at many streets, but yes, they have evaluated going across the street in front of the Palmetto House.
Oh, great. Okay. Also, our Veterans Museum, with the board's blessing, they are in the process of changing the name to Daytona Beach Veterans Museum and Library. So they're going to be adding Daytona Beach to it. So,
oh, and library?
yes.
Great. That's great.
Let's see. I do have on human trafficking. Florida is ranked third in the United States, and in Central Florida, we're also ranked third behind Miami and Tampa. And our top venues are strip clubs for human trafficking. And the county passed an ordinance for public awareness signs to be placed in all these strip clubs with English and Spanish, and it went into effect August 16th. And I just want to make sure that we are doing our part and all signage are in place in all these venues.
What did this sign say?
I think they have, well, Jagger's not here. I'm not
Yeah,
sure if he's updated.
they actually have, I think our staff has the information, and I know Attorney Jagger has looked into it, so we will be making sure to follow the same ordinance that was approved in the county.
So, okay. Let's see, what else do I have? Okay, Veterans Day is Thursday, November the 11th. I have been working with Senator Wright, along with Jim Morris, and staff and the city manager. Senator Wright is going to have a concert, 2 concerts at the band shell on Veterans Day. Gary Puckett will be performing. He is paying for it. And the first, and actually, if you don't know Gary Puckett, it was a little bit before my time too, but the veterans do know him. I guess back in, I'm just going to tell you a little story. Back in Vietnam, when I guess our soldiers were in enemy territory, and they wanted to find out if they were in friendly territory, they would say Gary, and then it would be respond back Puckett. And so they knew they were in friendly territory. So the veterans and Vietnam veterans, they love Gary Puckett. Okay, so the first concert he will be having is in the afternoon. And that will be by invitation only, and it's going to be for our veterans. And he will be serving food and drinks, and Gary Puckett will be playing. And we also have 92 veterans who work in the city. And I was working with Drew on this one. Since we have 92 employees, Senator Wright would like to have our employees attend this concert. And I've talked to the city manager, and he is going to give them half the day off without using their vacation pay, and it will be on administrative absent. So, to our veterans. And I believe you are working with Drew as well, with our employees. Well, can I go ahead? Okay. And the mayor is working with Drew as well, and he's gonna have a surprise. And so we really encourage all 92 veterans to show up at the band shell, our employees, because there's gonna be a little surprise from the mayor, and Drew and him are working on that. The second concert will be in the evening, and that will be a paid concert to the public. All proceeds will be going to one of our local veteran organization that works with our local veteran nursing home, Emory Bennett. So all the money will be going towards our veteran nursing home on Veterans Day.
I'll tell you what, you and Senator Wright are to both be commended for never forgetting and never relinquishing a drive, because you can never say thank you enough. And so I'm excited, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate him and staff for responding to this call, because I know when we have these ideas, it takes staff work, and we have to always remember that, and that's not usually a part of, the budget that we've necessarily outlined. But, when you have commissioners who are engaged, I believe it makes a better community.
Thank
and
you.
so I appreciate
But it
all
does not
engaged.
take one person.
Yeah.
We have some amazing staff. We have Morris and Drew and
And the manager.
and the staff that has been working really hard on it. We can bring the ideas, but they have to put it together.
Yeah, that's 100%. I agree.
So, thank you. And
Okay.
that's it.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Henry?
Just one thing tonight, and that is that we had our vaccination event this past weekend, which was really nice, went over very well. And Drew and the staff did a fantastic job. Everything was really nice. It was really organized. And the children and adults had hot dogs and drinks and chips, and they were able to play games because Cookman's Pandemic Win team came over and set up, and the children were able to learn about being physically fit and why that's important during the pandemic. They got their gift cards, so we were able to give out gift cards, and it was just really a great event. The health department came out and they gave out $10 food vouchers for each person that got vaccinated. So in addition to the gift cards, they got food vouchers where they could go to any store and purchase food. And the next event will be on October 16th, which is for the second dose. So we'll look forward to new people coming out and getting shots, and the second half of the other crowd coming out and getting shots. And I want to thank Drew. He did a phenomenal job, and he stayed the entire time, and everything went over really well. So that was in conjunction with Zone 5 Neighborhood Watch, the Health Department, City of Daytona Beach, and myself. And so that's my only comment for tonight.
Awesome. I attended, and I just want to say I enjoyed the environment and the atmosphere that was created with the music and the games and the fun associated with, you know, getting vaccinated, just all married together as a great community event. And Malcolm the hot dog wasn't bad either. So I appreciated that also. But it was, yeah, burnt just right, as the manager said. But we appreciate your efforts in being there also, and Commissioner Henry. Commissioner Reed?
Yes, sir. I just want to commend the manager for partnering with me on game night at Daisy Stocking Park this past weekend. Betty Goodman did an excellent job of organizing that for us, her staff, particularly Terry Vincent. DJ Kenmore, the voice of the Wildcats, he's a party all by himself. We had like 30 people up doing line dancing in between playing games, and I mean, I brought games. People were borrowing my Unos and Phase 10 and categories, but it was really nice. You know, several people asked Vincent Terry about doing it again, and I read the manager's lips when he said, "Don't tell Paula." But you know, we're not a community in the habit of doing something that regular, but we will consider doing something again in the future. I also want to remind everyone that this Saturday night is the last of the summer concerts for Daisy Stocking Park. So come on out, free concert, 7 to 9. Food vendors are there, and what have you, and just have a good time.
I received several inquiries regarding the event, and several people who wanted to see it happen again. They were not able to make it. So I heard him, but I'd be happy to partner with you in some way.
I love it.
in
Thank you,
making
sir.
happen, go
Let's do it
forward
again.
Because I think it's just, again,
It was good, clean fun for adults, you know.
I would just say there was a couple from Beachside. There was a couple from Beachside that came to the event, and one of the cooks at the Bethune Grill taught them how to play dominoes. And guess where they went and ate with her at?
Bethune Grill.
Bethune Grill. It was so they're family on Beachside, and she taught them how to play dominoes, and they evidently talked about it, and they came back, and she fed them outside, and they got a picture. They sent a picture in to us and all that.
I just think that's, you know,
that's
what
building
it's
community.
about.
It's all about
That's what it's all
bringing the
about.
community
We didn't
together.
break out Commissioner Cantu's Daytona Monopoly, but we may do that next time. She brought up the
Yes,
Daytona
thank you.
Monopoly game.
Commissioner Tracy.
Good evening, everybody.
Okay, I don't have that much. So the Veterans Bridge, I'm wondering, have we come up with the resolution to not just shutting down the bridge in the evening times? Because I do have some fishermen and some families. I've been keeping in touch with them, and they are out there and they are fishing. And I'm wondering what we can do to help them out and not just close them and get them to leave.
Yeah, that's remember that it's not our it's not our bridge and stuff. So I know Captain Lee has been working. We're gonna have to get some resolution with the county and our police department to figure out how we can do that to make sure that, like you said, the gentleman that came here says he wants to fish with his grandkids. You let it open for one, then you're going to open up to a bunch of people that may be individuals we don't want to have. But I know that Scott Lee and the county, they're all talking about it, and hopefully we'll be able to bring something at the next meeting. I'll make sure we have a resolution of talking with the county to see if they want us to go that route.
Okay, and the other thing is, as long as I know it's moving forward, do we have any new noise ordinance or any new noise issues that have come up from Beachside? Anything that's happened recently?
I don't think I haven't received anything. The only thing that we're dealing with that I'm aware of on Beachside is dealing with the Streamline Hotel with Mr. Hennessy. He has appealed the decision, so we will be working our way through that to make sure that if he's allowed to continue to open and have a rooftop, there will be violations that will be put in place. But he has appealed that decision, and since that decision has been appealed, I don't think I should go through the process of communicating about it until after I've had a meeting with him to discuss fully the appeal process and what we're going to do.
Are you able to tell people what happened? Can you tell people what happened, how we got
Yes,
to this point?
after the
Please.
decision, yeah.
You can or
Yes,
cannot?
after the decision is made.
Oh, okay.
But you can tell them what happened. You can.
I'm allowed to do that?
Can she do that?
Well, she doesn't know what I haven't.
Not
I just
you,
want,
but what
I just
happened
want
to get to
back,
this point.
right, I just want background for residents to understand what's going on
He
Beachside.
doesn't want to interfere with what goes forward from this point. But where you got to at this point, that's public record.
Exactly.
Sure, if it's.
Say what that is?
Could you
Yes, Mayor,
share,
if it's-
please?
If it's public record.
It
you
is.
could. On the other hand, it might be more prudent to allow the city manager to work the process through the appeal, because that allows policy to be set in the way that it's supposed to be set.
And he has due process because I have not provided him with my recommendation or my decision. We've had a brief discussion, but I'm evaluating all of the different code violations that have come in to see what we can do because there's a due process, and he was provided with the ability to have a rooftop permit. And so I've reviewed the documents, and once the decision is made, I will pass that on to him, and then we will also send that out to you as elected officials. But I just want to make sure I don't violate his due process, and the attorneys are dealing with me for saying something outside of that.
For me, the situation is that we do have we've discussed this before. We have people in the community who we ask them to do something, they don't comply, they do it temporarily. I brought this up, I said, what can we do to dissuade people from coming into compliance and then breaking that 1 or 2 weeks later? And so I just want the residents on Beachside to know that we are addressing it and we are taking your noise concerns to heart and we are trying to work through it. Just don't feel as though you're being ignored because you're in fact not being ignored. We're working on it. Also, could we please have a conversation about permits and waivers and what the city can do to help, as we've brought this up many times, when people want to have events? Do we have a plan in place right now? Have we been addressing it? What do we think we can do? Are there any adjustments we can make to any existing ordinances? Can we do anything to help people to put events on?
Ms. May, are you referring to permits for use of city property or parades?
No,
or
I mean,
things
if
like
we
that?
have, is there anything the city can do to help offset some of the costs? Whether it's barriers, barricades, can they help with anything at all?
Well, I can tell you that as far as the permitting that applies to use of city facilities, such as parks or closing down streets for parades, our code in Chapter 82 of the City Code requires permit fees and authorizes the manager to issue permits subject to those permit fees, and that includes things like police and fire charges, charges for use of equipment, et cetera. And you set the fees by resolution as a city commission. And to that end, for example, in the last 4 years, the commission amended the fee schedule to reduce fees for, I think, nonprofits under certain circumstances. But in addition to that, right now under Chapter 82 of the code, if somebody wants to go through a different process, they can ask to enter into an agreement that this commission approves. And you can allow the use of the city property or the closing of the street subject to whatever terms you deem are prudent through that agreement. You can waive or reduce or modify those fees.
So we had a conversation earlier today, and I want to not misrepresent the conversation, right? So let me see if I'm understanding, because you're the attorney here. Could the city manager decide on his own that he wanted to assist, and could he make the decision to waive certain fees if he so chose?
I think the code is unclear on that issue, and I think the better course would be to amend the code to make that authority clear.
So then I'd like us to consider, after some consideration, allowing the city manager to, if a particular event comes up, if he feels he wants to waive certain fees, that he has that leeway instead of coming to us, but we still have to approve it, I think.
I don't know.
No? Okay.
I think, when you get into allowing for arbitrary waivers, you run a mucky kind of situation. And I just believe that you want that type of, it just takes out the person in the middle. He got one here, he got one there. If you're gonna get to that point, I think the elected people need to do that.
So
That's
then-
just my position.
Sure.
I
So-
wouldn't want one to come and then the next one come, and then it's the manager.
Sure.
Put
So
them in a-
we've been trying for a while now, all the commissioners in all of our zones, to amend some of the fees, some of the costs associated with some of our events, especially in the downtown area. Some of the promoters are having a hard time, especially Main Street, and that is something we're focusing on right now. So I'd like to find out when we intend to have a workshop, and we've brought it up a number of times about amending some fees, whether it's for public facilities, whether it's for road closures, et cetera, how we can help them out.
Honorable Mayor, Commissioners, one thing you all did approximately about a month ago, and I think it was 2 months, Commissioner Henry asked about that, about fees as well, and I think that's what Commissioner May, we will be bringing back to you all after we review all of our fees. Ms. Goodman and Mr. Willis Keith has provided a report. We're finalizing that report on, he evaluated other cities and municipalities from throughout Volusia County. We will be bringing that report back to you also. We do have a bunch of nonprofits and outside groups that want to get services from us, so we'll be bringing in some recommendations to you all as well. So it will be encompass a lot of the things you're talking about tonight that, hey, if the commissioner says it's a nonprofit, you're able to waive 25% off of this fee or 50% or 75% that you all will approve. And people that will come and ask for something ahead of time, you already will know that if it is a veterans organization, if it's a student group, nonprofit, we can do a 25% waiver. So all of that information will come in a workshop, and it will go with the request you all had about making fees and charges, because a lot of times we get people that come in and ask for something. I just found out that I'm just using Commissioner Cantu, the Veterans Parade, I paid for law enforcement, and it was a city parade. I was shocked. These are things that if we're sponsoring or co-sponsoring something, we need to look at why are we paying for leisure services, set up barricades and stuff. So those are things that we're going to bring back to you all. But you're right. I want you all to understand what we're doing, because I don't want to be also put in the middle of one group mad. But I think if you know at the very beginning, as Commissioner May is talking about, if we know at the very beginning that you all are giving me the authority to waive a nonprofit for this, for 25%, 50%, or 75%, it will work, and not just any group that wants to come in. So we'll bring that all, I'm hoping to bring that all back to you all in November sometime.
Okay.
And I'm hoping that some of that won't just apply to nonprofits, but to people who are coming in to do promotions, events,
And our
et cetera.
co-sponsors.
And we're co-sponsoring to help our city, right?
Yeah. If
Sure.
you don't do that event, then we're going to be doing food trucks. And I'm saying you, but the DDA, and I don't want us to be doing food truck events.
But that's why but remember, that's why you still have to have standards. And you can't just allow the standards to go down any road, you know. And so, because I don't want to get a report that, well, it happened for me and it didn't happen for me. We have to set a standard, and that's why we are the policymakers. So you don't ever relinquish that responsibility. You set the policy, and the staff has to execute it, and you can't just leave the policy in a nebulous sort of a way. It has to be tight.
We'd be setting that policy roughly.
Well, that I don't know, and you know, I don't have the magic wand to say that. But when they bring something forward to us, then we can discuss it. But we need to agree on a set of policies, you know, and then they can go out and execute that.
She's putting it on the agenda for y'all to have a workshop in November.
Okay, thank you. I think you've been waiting for a while for some of this to happen over there. So next thing is going to be, let's talk about, I'm going to request that I am replaced on the TPO, please. So I'm not quite sure how that works, but I would like to be replaced on the TPO.
Okay.
Next thing is going to be, I really would like to say thank you so much to the Sierra Club, because I received a very kind note from them. And what they were stating was that based on a conversation that I had with them on the radio about a year and a half ago, they discussed an Adopt a Drain program. And so now we're doing it, and they want to take it a little bit further, but they're willing to partner with us. And it's about 1,500 volunteers. And I think that's a phenomenal thing. And that would actually help us keep our drain system clean, help with flooding in some areas. So thank you so much to the Sierra Club. And thank you for having a conversation with me that turned into something tangible. I appreciate that so much. Thank you.
Okay. So the TPO, you're requesting to be removed. Is there a time frame?
Immediately.
Immediately. Okay. Is there a reason that we should know?
None needed.
other
Just,
than-
it's a request.
Okay. All right, well, we are now without a person.
I'll do it.
Okay,
I was gonna make a motion that she replace her.
all right.
Okay.
Okay, well, we have a
Volunteer.
volunteer. Okay. Is there any opposition to our volunteer? That person becomes a volunteer?
So that was.
Okay, this is, well, I just want us to understand. I think you understand. You know much about TPO? Okay,
I've
you've been around.
listened all through my campaign.
Because it's you know, if it's one of the, it's a major one.
So-
If I, you know,
Mr. Chair, based on the consensus of the commission,
we're gonna,
I'll prepare a resolution that amends the resolution that appointed Ms. May as the TPO rep and instead appoints Ms. Cantu.
Okay.
And I assume that's included in your consensus here on the dais tonight.
yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, well said. Thank you for your service, for the time that you served. Okay. Is that it for, okay. Well, I don't have my glasses. And, I think you all are probably happy. I've had the same pair of glasses, one pair for 5 years. And they were the only pair that I've ever owned. When I first got glasses, the same pair, but I didn't have a second pair. And this pair is somewhere in a coat pocket or somewhere, and I don't know where they are, and I don't seem to have time to go to the eye doctor to get a new pair. But I have a lot, and I'm not gonna go over all of it tonight. But when is our meeting or workshop on the Bike Week Master Plan? Do we have a date?
October 6th.
October 6th. So
We just
today
established
is
it
what?
today.
That's right after the next meeting?
Yeah, we just established it.
We're
Just-
moving one workshop and replacing it with the Bike Week Master Plan.
So
Okay.
the next meeting, you'll get a report before the meeting.
But we're having a workshop on the Bike Week plans for us to talk about
Yes.
on October 6th. Okay, I have a lot of information on the Bike Week Master Plan that I want to kind of share with you all and ask you to really immerse yourselves in. Because the first thing is, we all agree that Main Street and MMB need revitalization. And they need to be something different and greater than they are.
Yes.
But I don't know that we all as a community or as a board agree that in some ways, what we do in Bike Week has been impacting Main Street and MMB. And some of it obviously good for those who own businesses at a certain time of the year. Some of it not so good because we're not getting the type of development and revitalization that we want on either of those blocks. Now, earlier this year, we have directed the staff to come back to us as a commission with a plan for Main Street that hopefully we'll be able to sign off on and will show the city's commitment from an infrastructure purpose, from a lighting purpose, that we are committed to making Main Street rival what's going to be done on A1A. But in doing all of that, I think it's incumbent upon us to make some decisions. If we're going to pour that type of money in, we also have to try to do something to eliminate the lack of incentives that the businesses currently have for developing and redeveloping Main Street. And for too long, we've complained about businesses not being open year-round. For too long, we have, and that goes on both. It's MMB and Main Street.
True.
And so, but in order to get some changes, we've complained about the fact that we don't get any of the new businesses that we might want to have year-round. We've heard from the fact that, and I'm going to go through a quick jot of list of things that I'd like to see us look at. And then I'm going to come up with a way to kind of try to succinctly send you all some things that we need to look at. One of the things that concerns me as it relates to our redevelopment areas, and this is Main Street is one of them, is that I don't have a clear understanding, Mr. Manager, and this is something that I'm going to ask you to go back to the redevelopment board and go back to code. And you guys have to come back and tell us not only the commission, but the community, who's really responsible for code enforcement in these areas? Does the redevelopment board have the authority to actually enforce the redevelopment standards through some sort of code? But we need to know which one's responsible so that we can then expect that somebody is holding the standard that we have to the level of accountability that we want. So that's homework assignment that I think that staff needs to bring back to us so we know, because we can't really grow Main Street or MMB if we're not demanding that the people who are on those blocks are meeting the standard that we expect as a community. Okay, so that's number one. The second thing is, we've got several sections that I would like for us to look at. Sections 4 and 5, which create use for improved non-residential property for parking. Okay, we need to look at those sections to see if there's something that we want to do as it relates to non-residential property for parking. Because the issue of parking in and around Main Street is a major, major issue. And I think that one of the things that we have to remember is that parking issues, I think, combine to perpetuate blight in both issues, in both areas. And we have to, as a commission, we're gonna have to figure out, how do we solve the parking problems? And how do we do it in a way that's responsible? Now, I've been up here for quite a number of years. One of the things, the second piece of homework that I want staff to send us all, because I doubt that any of us have ever looked at the contract for Bike Week. Because there's a contract that the city has signed and that we have, or something that basically regulates Bike Week between the chamber. I've never seen the contract. So I would like to know what's in the contract, how long it lasts, what options do we have as a city to make it better? Has anybody, I've never seen it. Well, if I've seen it, I haven't had a chance to see it in hard copy and really be able to look at it. And so I think that's something that I would like for you to dig up and send to us. This issue of allowing different merchandise as sold in stores. The recent proposal eliminated Section 3, but added wording in 3C about same commercial activities as existing business. So we've talked about this issue, but I think we need to revisit this to make sure that if we really want to allow a person who owns a business on Main Street who's open all year to pretty much sell anything at that particular time when Bike Week comes. So that, you know, if I'm just a coffee shop 365 days of the year and I'm open, then we allow them, when Bike Week comes, to just basically have the advantage of being down there, but not having to simply sell what they've always sold. And I think that needs to be totally clarified, and in my opinion, but I'm not gonna, I think liberated. And that's just the word I'll use. And there are a number of other issues that I think, but I'm gonna send them to you all. A lot of them have to deal with issues like boundaries. Each applicant, and this is, I think, important, we need to come up with a standard that says that each applicant, they shouldn't have any code violations. You know, it can't just be a month before or 2 months before. It needs to be either 6 months or a year. And if they have more than one in a year, we got to have a high standard, because we're not demanding enough for what we're giving as a community. So if you know, and that's, you know, one of the issues that I will certainly bring up. But what I'm going to do is try to bring all of this into a cogent sort of way before, you know, the end of the week. share it with you all and ask you all to be really prepared to immerse yourselves and be prepared to maybe, make some tough decisions that are not always comfortable in order to help these two streets. Because we're talking about, a substantial amount of money to try to incentivize the street. Let's do what we can to demand better on Main Street.
Can I ask
yes,
a
ma'am.
question about that? So if the merchants, are we planning on putting more money into Main Street? Is that the plan here when you say incentivize? Is that the goal to create
Well, when I
grants?
say more money, I'm talking about the project that we're expecting for staff to bring to us as it relates to improvement of Main Street, the road improvement, the lighting improvement that I hope will rival Beach Street. I want it to be a dynamic street,
Okay.
but I want it to be a busy street, and we have to do something to incentivize the businesses being open and meeting the code standards that we have as a community.
And then I have a question for Mr. Gross. I'm just curious, as I'm listening to the mayor, could you please tell me, now that we have something new in the works where businesses can go ahead and sell products or merchandise or have some sort of, how does this impact the Bike Week master plan? Can they do it during Bike Week?
If I understand the mayor's suggestion correctly, it would be to revise the guidelines, which currently have parameters for the kinds of merchandise that could be sold during Bike Week, to say something different than what they said.
Right, but let's just, I want us to go to a different part of our agenda this evening. We spoke about we spoke about MMB, and we spoke about Main Street, that merchants could now sell things if they wanted. They could apply to the city, they could do a site drawing. Could somebody now involve themselves in Bike Week and do an event during Bike Week? I'm just curious.
And I want to make sure that I'm going to answer your question correctly. So if I'm giving TMI, please forgive me. The Land Development Code generally prohibits outside sales, outside storage on commercial properties. The allowance in the Bike Week Master Plan for people to sell things outside is an exception. All the rules regarding the exception are created by the Bike Week Master Plan.
But did we not just do something in our ordinance which says you're allowed to sell things? You're allowed to have an event, you're allowed to sell merchandise on sidewalks, the art,
The Friday
am I
and
right?
Saturday only.
Hold on. Let me be clear. The Bike Week Master Plan guidelines do not dictate or allow anything about selling on public sidewalks. All of this has to do with stuff that's occurring on private property.
I think I'm being clear. Do you know what I'm talking about, Mr. Morris?
Yes, sir.
Elaborate a little bit on some of the distinctions. So when the mayor spoke about licensing and selling things that you ordinarily don't sell through the year, that's a TPA. That's a provision in the Land Development Code that applies to businesses throughout the city, throughout the year. The 20-day allowance that you can have a TPA. So the mayor's example was a business that's licensed, let's say, sell T-shirts and maybe hangs a T-shirt on the wall, and an event comes, they pull a TPA, they could, and sell things outside their business pursuant to their TPA. That's the exception to the outdoor requirement that Ben Gross mentioned.
Technically, TPAs under the Land Development Code are only for the merchandise that's sold unless in the Bike Week Master Plan guidelines, we've amended the rules for TPAs.
Can we just hold for a second? I'm speaking about something specific, 9F.
I'm going to try to
Okay.
come back to your point.
Okay.
That's simply not the way it's worked. It's with licenses, they do sell things. They don't necessarily stock full inventory. They stock a little bit. It's a game. And I think that's what the mayor is pointing out. It has worked that way for many, many years. The Bike Week Master Plan permits people that own property in the areas, Main Street in particular, the Bike Week Master Plan, to do things that rent to vendors, have outside bars, sales, all sorts of things that you see pursuant to the Bike Week Master Plan that are approved by the commission pursuant to the Bike Week Master Plan guidelines and the activities that people submit. On MMB, you have Ms. Himes Group, which actually uses city sidewalks because there's not as much room in vacant land along MMB. And so Ms. Himes Group has an agreement with the city where they permit activities on the sidewalks. Ms. Hurd is not a part of that, and Ms. Hurd has previously used her property, which is vacant. She has some things on it, but there's a large space. And she actually, because she's not a part of Ms. Himes' group, she was at one time, she does a festival event and does things on her property. That's an activity that's permitted to her under the land development code. So you have that composite of things, and there's a difference in configuration between MMB and Main Street. It's pretty obvious to everyone. You've got more public parking adjacent to MMB, kind of behind the businesses, proportionally than you do at Main Street, although you got vacant spaces and lots and so on at Main Street that are the Ocean Center. And the greater problem has been an absence of reinvestment in the area to keep businesses that are full-time. That's in the case of both streets, and for whatever reason, that's what has occurred. And as the mayor talks about a Beach Street-style plan, perhaps for Main Street and perhaps for MMB, I think the idea is what do you do to kind of make it more plausible that people reinvest alongside the infrastructure. Presently, we don't permit a business to participate in the Bike Week Master Plan if they have a code violation at the time the event occurs. But as the mayor pointed out, you could have one, let's say, a month ahead, cure it in time, and be permitted to participate. And that's something that's been a recent situation. There was a standard in the code that said if you had a code violation, which had to be found in violation, there's a 3-year holdout that you couldn't participate in the plan, and that's a fairly punitive thing. So you've got a bunch of different rules that have evolved, and I'm not sure I've hit your specific question, which if I haven't, I'll try to answer.
Okay. So we pulled 9F. It says outdoor art display and sales activities.
Yes, ma'am.
That's the issue. So
Yes.
my question is, if I'm not involved in any of the Bike Week events, but I want to activate this particular provision, can I have an event in the local area, not be part of Bike Week, but have an outdoor display or sales activity, and I'm not part of the Bike Week Master Plan or part of any festival?
Okay. So I think the simple answer is yes, but there's
Okay.
a lot of qualifications to the question. Part of it is timing. And if you went through the permitting process to have the special event that we process the way we would most special events, so you could go through that process. There's a lot of specifics that have to go into it in terms of control of property and how you have other people to organize with you.
Do you want to weigh in, Mr. Gross?
Yeah, the Land Development Code only authorizes TPAs to sell products that are customarily sold as part of the principal use. You can vary that, and you may have done it. I don't have the Bike Week guidelines in front of me for TPAs during Bike Week. I just want to.
But Bike Week
I
guidelines-
know what your current question is.
Bike Week guidelines aside, this 9F really opens the door to many people participating because they could actually go ahead and do outdoor art displays or sales activities during that time.
It does, and so you'd have, just presume you've got the business, the one that motivated this in the first place, which is the old silversmith shop. Their intention is to do this day in or weekend, week out, and have that activity, so they could continue to have that activity during Bike Week. There's nothing that stops them from doing that. When you talked about an outdoor event, depends on if you're talking about just your property or you're trying to go to a bigger area. That's why I said timing may be a question in respect to who else participates. So there's a lot of specifics that go into answering the question.
I feel as though this helps other communities to also have some events in that general area.
Ms. May, the section of the Land Development Code that we have in place that authorizes Bike Week and Biketoberfest, you don't see those words in that section. That section basically says the city commission by resolution can authorize outside activities temporarily in distressed and blighted areas in association with the community festival. So one example is Bike Week and Biketoberfest. But the commission could authorize, in pursuant to that code section, temporary outside activities in other situations in distressed and blighted areas in association with the community festival.
And that's why my answer was yes, but it depends upon the specifics of how it comes forward.
In addition, there's another section of the Land Development Code called special events that for certain properties, and these tend to be larger properties like shopping centers or industrial parcels, it allows staff to administratively approve special events like carnivals. But the basic intent is to allow that only for these really large parcels that tend to be able to have the capacity to hold all of that activity on site.
And that you have cohesive action among multiple property owners usually.
Right.
And I'd like to, I'm sorry, I'd like to discuss that further because although I know what you're saying is trying to help others, But is it fair when they can do this all the time on a temporary
Mm-hmm.
basis to allow them to do it when others are paying to be a part of these major
Well,
activities?
And that,
I'm sorry.
my
let me-
point
let me-
is, I'm seeing a little inconsistency here.
Well, we're gonna bring back that ordinance and make some changes anyway, but to be clear, the ordinance that was pulled from tonight's agenda, which was modeled very closely on the Main Street Tattoo Gallery PD, would not have allowed outdoor art sales during Bike Week and Biketoberfest unless somebody got that approved as part of the Bike Week and Biketoberfest master plan. It actually created a window where during those event periods, you couldn't do it. Yeah.
And so hypothetical, what if I'm on a different part of town and during the bike week events, I want to have some sort of activity, I can do that. I'm not in the bike week master plan, I'm not anywhere near them, but I want to have an outdoor event and capitalize on the traffic that's in the area. That's possible?
I think, go ahead.
You can do that
Okay.
if what you want to do is something that the Land Development Code allows. And for the most part, that's going to mean something that the commission approves.
That's right.
Or it's going to mean, I'm sorry,
Everything like that.
or it's going to mean a large assembled parcel like an industrial parcel or a shopping center, excuse me.
Thank you.
Okay, and let's keep in mind, I remember years ago, when we had Bike Week events spreading all down, ISB and all these different places, we did things to bring them back in.
Yes, sir.
We don't want them everywhere, just because somebody's a property owner.
And just as a footnote, Mayor, in respect to your question about the chamber, I haven't read the contract myself, but they do intake, they don't do approval. The commission does the approval.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but there's a benefit, and I want to know, what the chamber and, as it relates.
Convention and Visitors Bureau is the other one.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
yeah, okay.
Yes, sir.
Both contracts, I think we need to know.
Well, we'll have
because
'em.
We have to set the standard for Bike Week. It's a day, it happens in our city. So we need to have a better hold of, what the event is and what things we really want to approve. One other thing I forgot to mention was, I'd like to see us, and there's many things, but definitely figure a way to use the public property to benefit nonprofits during Bike Week. We have a lot of public property. And I'd also like to see us move closer to utilizing the public parking during Bike Week and to do something about the private property that that the Bike Week community is using, but they're using it and it's unimproved year-round. That's really what I mean when we talk about this issue of we're incentivizing blight by allowing people to use property that they don't improve, it's unimproved year-round, and then they're able to park people on that property. So we need to take that incentive away by using more public property. Okay, by using more public property, if you all follow what I'm saying, use more public property. Okay. Yes, sir.
We may need to move, based on all the discussion tonight, we may need to move the workshop to another day, separate, to maybe have more than an hour and a half, to maybe 2, 3, 4.
Okay. I don't, 2 hours is enough. Okay.
So
All right.
we may look, I'll talk with
Have
staff
it
tomorrow.
whenever we need to have it, because I'm not in a rush. I want it right.
I got you. So we
I
will,
want to have a deep dive because I think it's critical to our community, to our posterity. Okay.
Okay.
Um,
October 13th. Okay.
The affordable housing report. I need to hear about that because I'm feeling like it's coming up on a year, and I'm ready to have some discussions about linkage fees. They are not gone. They're not gone in my head, and I hope they're not gone in the commission's head. Yes.
Your next agenda has the approval of the contract for the balance of the
All
study to be
right,
done.
let's get it moving because that's one of the slowest things. I feel like watching paint dry with that. Okay. Now, the last thing for me tonight is we've heard for the last multiple months concerning the issue on the beach side where we gave away a plot of land that it was basically a right-of-way that the public had access to. And the entire public had access to it. And I went out this weekend, and I wanted to do this quite a while back, but I finally went out and looked at it. And I don't know, I'm sure Commissioner May has looked at it. I want to encourage all of you to go out and look at it. I looked at it, and it took me 10 seconds to realize that this wasn't really, I don't feel it was a good decision. Because what we did was we eliminated the number of people who had access to the river. And we basically gave it to two people who own two parcels here. And then there's a narrow 30-foot strip of land that leads to the river. And if I lived 1,000 feet or 2,000 feet from that, that's an area that I think I would have wanted to maintain my access to the river. And now these two houses control that because of an action that we took. And so I would encourage you all to either go out and look at it, but I'm asking the manager to see if there's a way, you know, because we know that we could take it back. It's called the taking. And it's a process but it would be an arduous process, I think. And you can speak to that if you're familiar with the project. But the first thing I want to say is, what I would like the manager to do is to reach out to the property owners, see if you can work something out. If that doesn't work out, then we have to look at other options, but also look at what property we own that may be adjacent to this area that we could create a park. Because the reality is, we need parks on the riverfront. You know, we don't want a riverfront that where you don't have parks, where you don't have people can't go to the riverfront on both sides of the river and have access to that. And we essentially, it wasn't a full-blown park, but we gave away people's capacity to access that. So I would like for you to look at some ways and then look at what we own that might suffice as, you know, a public park.
And you wanted me to address how the city could get that right-of-way back?
I don't necessarily want you to address that right now. I do know that we can, but I think first what we need to do is let him work that out.
Sure.
And then your staff does need to investigate that, because for me, at the end of the day, we have to make this situation right.
Well, one thing I do want to note for you, Mr. Mayor, is when a municipality vacates platted right-of-way, which this was, the city is terminating the public interest in that right-of-way. And just to be clear, we don't dictate who ends up with the fee title to the property. That's dictated by law. But what I wanted to say is that depending upon the facts, everybody who resides within the area described in that plat, who purchased a lot that's described with reference to that plat, they may very possibly have their own private easement over that right-of-way that we cannot vacate, and that's also by law.
So my understanding is that they do have, the 82 plats in there have access to that right-of-way, but not everyone else who lives, who may be the 90th plat that's close to that property.
It's a little nuanced, but basically, yes, people within the subdivision may have easement rights. The case law, though, says that those easement rights can be lost if you can't show that you've been using them. You know, based on equitable principles, if you've never used it for 50 years, you might not be able to enforce that. But if people have been walking their canoe along that right-of-way and they live in that subdivision, then it's likely a court would find that they still have an easement over that right-of-way. That's not something we would enforce because that's a private right. A right-of-way vacation is just a decision that a paper or real street isn't needed for a public purpose anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I would just say to us that I think that was still needed. And I'm just the type of person that believes that when you do something that's not right, you need to fix it. And I feel like we did something that wasn't right, and we need to find a way to fix it. Okay.
Mr. Gross, I appreciate the way you explain that, because so far it seemed as though we couldn't do anything. And I appreciate the way you just put that there are possibilities that we can explore to help the residents. Thank you so much.
Well, and just to be clear, that if there are easement rights, those are things that the individual property owners would have to pursue.
Right, but I just appreciate the way
Yeah.
you phrase that. Thank you so much.
But the issue is that they don't want to have to go to court and do that. So we need to try to figure out a way that we might be able to do it. Okay? And that's the really issue. They know that they can do that, but we kind of broke this, so we need to fix it. Okay, that concludes my remarks. Mr. Manager?
Just wanted to highlight one item. Staff will be doing, we've talked earlier in my tenure here about doing walking tours. And we put it in the manager's update. These walking tours will do some of the things you've been talking about, how people can do stuff in their communities, MMB, MLK, Seabreeze areas. So these are things that will be coming up starting in November with all of the staff in different areas. And this will also help to be brought back information to you all for your retreat that will be planned in January. So just wanted to share that. If people have not signed up to receive the city manager's update electronically, I would encourage you to go online and sign up, because it does come out every city commission day, and it can be sent directly to your email address for any citizen that wants the city manager's update. And the communications team, they do a very good job of trying to get as much information in it as possible.
Getting bigger and bigger.
I believe you said that you have a meeting with the county, because we've all discussed about bus benches.
Yes, we are. We Commissioner Cantu talked about it at the last meeting. We have scheduled a meeting with Votran and the county in reference to bus stops, especially in our city that are not on city right away. They're mainly county or state roads, but we're trying to make sure that bus terminals or bus stops, benches, sidewalks are all part of the process, especially on their roads. So we're going to have a discussion. We have a couple of identified roads, but staff is looking at all of the areas in our community to make sure that as we continue to grow in the areas where we don't have bus stops and Votran, we can put them in place there. So we'll be meeting with them soon, and we'll provide an update after that meeting to the commission on that item.
Okay. All right, we'll now hear from the public.
And before we move on to the public, I just want to remind the commission that tomorrow we have the commission canvassing board meeting in DeLand at the supervisor elections office at 5 o'clock to certify the final results.
Okay, we have the same people that'll be there this time.
No, I will.
We can always have additional people as well.
Okay, I won't be there. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we're going to move on to our public comment forum. Our first speaker is Frederick Brown, and on deck is Malcolm Williams.
Oh, I did have one more. We need-
Frederick Brown, 1508 Crescent Ridge, Daytona Beach. First of all, I can't say thank you enough for the mayor to take some time to come down and visibly see what we just talked about. Sometimes it takes smelling the roses to understand how pretty the flowers are. The mayor was willing to do that. Commissioner May was willing to do that earlier. And I'm so glad that you have actually seen what the situation is. And address some of the comments there by the attorney. That property has never been abandoned by the city. And as I've pointed out numerous times in my 3-minute speech at every single meeting for the last year, that property was deeded to the public forever. And it's very clearly on the deeds of all the people who own in Bridgeport Heights. But when you read it, it's somewhat unique in that it's to the public forever. And I think the mayor recognized the importance of that. Because as I have said numerous times, you're cutting off the last access we have to the river in our zone. There's nothing else. until you go all the way down to, as we pointed out, the landlocked park in Daytona Shores down south of the school. So I am very, very happy that he was able to find the time to come look at it. I'm sorry we didn't do this earlier. And to address another legal point to our city attorney, assistant attorney, indeed, you know, we don't want to have to spend the money suing, okay? Nothing I abhor more than making more lawyers rich, but, you know, don't take that as an insult, but we don't really want to have to spend our money fighting you. And we don't want to have to fight the other attorneys that were involved in this decision who slipped it through under the cover of COVID when nobody had the opportunity to really address this issue. It was never brought up publicly. It was never announced publicly. We never had a chance to even know about it until months later when all of a sudden there's surveyors showing up. And that's unfortunate. But I do applaud the mayor for that. I also, as my time is running out, want to thank you very much for your support for the Veterans Library that's going on there. And I know you're going to see some activity there. And I'm hoping the state, the city, and I know the state with Senator Wright is going to be very, very helpful for that too. It's going to become a true jewel on the beach side. Now, there's a couple other points. I only have a few seconds left. Again, I also want to see safer crosswalks. And I also implore the mayor, I would love to do a workshop with you, sit down with you. There are solutions to prevent the death that occurred just down the street from my house earlier this year, and I don't want that forgotten. So I would love to work with you on that because there are definite answers, and I'd like to see a citywide standard on that, and I think it will be very, very effective. Thank you.
Williams, and on deck is John Nicholson.
Good evening, everyone. Malcolm Williams, 1006 Levy Avenue. I had a first question that had to deal with the CRA. My question with the CRA was, one of the things that we haven't really talked about is the redistricting that is about to happen. And does that apply to the CRA, or is there going to be some movement in the zones of the CRA, especially where the development is going to be taking place? I wanted to ask these questions in the CRA meeting, but I had to ask it in this format. And the second question, when it pertains to the CRA, if community engagement is involved in that, I have a lot of people that's been trying to reach out and they want to do something in those areas. Is that something that they can go through to help do children's festivals or things of that nature through the CRA? The second question that I had for today was dealing with our special events. Is there a particular reason why we chose the Ocean Center over the Peabody? I know the Peabody is something that the city owns, and if we're inviting other cities to our area to discuss, special events, can we welcome them in the Peabody? It's something that the city owns. And Rockville is coming up. We haven't had too many conversations about that. It's probably will come up in the special events meeting. But, we talked about with the truck meet, them having a code of ethics or code of conduct or something that the city is going to put out. Is that going to be coming up on the agenda? Or is that something that the commission is looking into creating for Rockville? Because I know that's November or it's coming up real soon. And I also wanted to say thank you to the city, especially Drew and everybody that helped out with the vaccine event on Saturday. We did have a good time. They did a lot of planning. It took a lot, and so we're very, very appreciative, and we love the direction. Once again, I say this every time, that the city is taking. The involvement from the communities is probably greater than I have ever seen it before. And we're looking for nothing but great things, and we're always available. And I hope that we can also take part in the city manager's neighborhood walk. If you come to our neighborhood, if you come to Zone 5, we'll be glad to show you around in some of the key points, both hot spots and some of the areas that we're looking to improve or see improvement in. So that's all my comments. Appreciate it.
Our next speaker is John Nicholson and Miley. Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Mayor, the only way to change the CRA boundaries under the statute is to do a blight study and find that the boundaries need to be expanded. And now, because basically the immediate control is given to the county, which then delegates, and the county is attached to all kinds of strings, we'd have to get county approval. So there's certainly nothing, involving the census that would lead to a change in the boundaries of the CRA.
Yeah, That's, all right, thank you.
was in 413 North Cranberry Avenue. No, we've never changed the boundaries of the CRA, okay? In the 3 times we've changed commission zones. One thing, thank you, Tracy, for, I know you didn't do it, but adding the word library, kind of CYA covers your butt. Right. And I was kind of shocked that you didn't know Gary Puckett, but have you ever heard of Elvis? He's another guy, an old singer. Have you ever heard of him?
Oh, I've heard of him.
Oh, okay.
And I knew who Gary Puckett is. This was way before.
Right. But, yeah, they're doing gas lines through my neighborhood. A year ago, they did down Oak Ridge, and they did it down the asphalt. Now they're doing it down the sidewalks. And I just got 4 holes in the front of my house filled with asphalt, and they overfill about an inch. It's a trip hazard. And there's about 27 of them on our sidewalk. There's 7 on the block next to me, and they're not patting them down. And I don't know if we have any control. Public Works says we don't. Last year, they were replacing the telephone poles. Now, they were replacing the huge telephone poles for hurricane season, but they didn't take out the ones from 15 years ago. And we still had the ones from 30 years ago. So we ended up with 3 poles in the same location. Now, they're working on it, and the 17 on my block, because they've been forgetting to take them out, they've only taken 1 out, and they've been working on it 2 years. When they were doing the gas line, I just happened to walk around the house, and he's at my old gas meter, and he's got this paint thing, and he's walking across my mulch, painting it. And I said, whoa, 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 whoa. He said, well, I have to do this. He said, it'll wear away in a couple of weeks. I said, no, it doesn't. It's on sidewalks all over the place. Whenever you do anything, you paint it, and it lasts for a year or 2. And it may go for 5 years, depending on where the location is. He wanted to walk down my hardscape. I have a coquina rock for about 10 feet across the front. He was going to paint that. And I'm like, it doesn't go away. You don't paint rock. But I'm wondering what we have as a city. And I understand that Tallahassee took a lot of our ability to move the lines from one telephone pole to the next. So that was a problem for several years, 30 exactly. And I'm wondering about what we can do when they have this paint. Is there some way of asking them to thin it to the point where it really doesn't last for several years? And also, they're redoing Oak Ridge, and they're doing a terrible job of it. I mean, really. So I'm asking us to, when anybody does anything, to CYA so that nobody gets hurt because we're self-insured.
And on deck is Patricia Hurd.
Linda Smiley, 357 Manhattan. I wanted to say thank you to the city manager and Commissioner Reed for the game night. I went and I had a great time. And I actually sat with that couple that you talked about and the employee from the Bethune Grill. I learned several new games and I had a good time. That couple actually tried to get a house in Daytona and were outbid, so they're going to Port Orange, but they'll be coming back for events if we have them. And Commissioner Cantu, you are doing a great job for your constituents and the rest of us with your ability to just get things done. You are kicking butt and taking names. Let's see. Okay, so City Island Farmers Market. There's been some talk this week that's getting that's on its deathbed. I went maybe a month ago. It was pretty hot, and there was like 6 vendors. That's not going to sustain at that rate. But what I noticed was I had to park way around the corner. And so if I had an armload of stuff, I would be pressed to buy a lot of stuff because I had to park so far away. The other thing I noticed was there's no seating downtown anywhere because I went to your food truck event to see how that was going. And what I noticed was I don't know if the vendors the trucks put out a few tables with some chairs and stuff, but for the most part, there was no place to sit. So there you were with your big baked potato on a plate and your drink, and you were stuck. You could sit on the ground or you could sit on some steps, but there was no place to eat for the most part because people took up the seats and they were listening to the music and they weren't getting up for the new people that came that needed to have somewhere to sit and eat their food. Somebody mentioned about the election. Somebody posted on social media that if they had not been signed up for vote by mail, they had no idea that there was an election even being held for Zone 2. So I don't know if the city put something out. I'm in Zone 2, so I knew that, but they're not reading it. They're not seeing it. I don't know if it's on social media, but we need to do a better job to let people know that there's an election because less than 1,200 people voting out of 6,800 for this seat was dismal. Water refill stations. I'm hoping we're still getting some of those. And what I noticed is City of Holly Hill got something called a water goat. I don't know if any of you know what that is, but it corrals trash and stuff. It's something that we should look at. The City of Port Orange is also looking at that, and I don't know where we could use it exactly. It's something that we should look at. So that's a start. Yeah, it's like a rope thing, and it corrals the water. I mean, the trash and stuff. And City of Holly Hill has people that go and volunteer and pick up that.
Patricia Hurd, 822 Vernon Street, Daytona. Okay, thank you all for the conversations tonight over these special events and everything else. But tonight I want to talk about speeding. You know, around BCU, Green Street, MMBB, MLK, people are driving like they're crazy, you know, and something needs to be done. I could have caused an accident the other day. You know, I was going to speed limit, girl gonna go around me on the right, but I wouldn't let her go. And there was a car parked over there, speeding. Maybe we need to suggest that all of these students at BCU take a course, they have something with their cars. That's what they need, because they don't know what a white line is, what a stop sign is. They don't know what a caution light. Caution light means okay, let's stop. I'm also concerned about the homeless and the panhandling on MMBB down by Ridgewood. They're sitting across from the Sunoco station, at the Sunoco station, and things like that, and it looks terrible. And then on MLK, on Park Drive, Shallow Baptist Church, in that area, we have some sitting there, paper everywhere. It's ridiculous the way a street looks that a person who fought for us, MLK, looks that way. We need to do something about it. And on the corner of Cedar Street and MLK, parking on the yellow lines, you cannot see the cars coming from the east to the west stop sign. You better go slow unless you might hit something. So we need to, I don't know whether you all, the police, I don't care who does it, but it needs to be done. My last for these 24 seconds, the Waste Pro. Put in trash cans, garbage cans on the curb on these little narrow streets that's only large enough for a one-way street. It's not working. I have pictures here to show you on Bellevue in the street. Those people are not working. They have a little job appreciate them working. Give me 5 more seconds. Appreciate them working, but let's do it right. And also, I have some pictures to show you afterwards on Carl Turner.
Speaker, Mr. Steve Miller.
Okay.
Steve Miller, 383 Walnut Street, Daytona Beach, Florida. I want to congratulate the 2 individuals in the Zone 2. In fact, I always talk about the diversification of this commission. I'm so excited we're going to have a white male on our commission. So, Mr. Mayor, you still got a very diverse commission. Mr. Mayor, I just want to thank you for the resolution that you sent to my dear friend from Winter Haven, Attorney Larry Hardaway, who is the first black assistant city manager in the city of Winter Haven, and of course, you being the second and the first city manager there. So, again, thank you. And Paula, I just want to thank you that we had 61 people at our neighborhood watch meeting last meeting, and we're going to have this month on October the 11th, our police chief. We're going to talk about, we always talking about reforming the police department. We're going to talk about what's going on in the city of Daytona Beach, and we're very excited about our police department. But again, I just wanted to say I love Daytona Beach. You guys are doing a fantastic job. I love seeing this diverse commission, and truly I love the city of Daytona Beach.
All right, I wanted to commend Larry as well and Ken, the 29th, and yeah, okay. I wanted to commend both of them for persevering. We've got the Mayor's Fitness Challenge is in full throttle, so I want to encourage everyone, whether you're in the challenge or not, put your spoons down or put some good stuff on your forks and exercise and move. The 29th, Commissioner Cantu, is a very important TPO meeting, the 29th. So, and we have to have someone participate. So they'll get to you.
Be there as a representative because there may be items that you need to bring back to the commission, but we'll let the deputy attorney still do the resolution, but he says you should be in attendance at that meeting. And we'll send you the agenda.
It's a great and magnificent day in Daytona Beach. Good night.